Good afternoon, grade 11s. Welcome to today's LO lesson. My name is Pulen Nitika and I am your LO teacher for the duration of the lockdown. On the screen, you'll see that I've put my email, litikapuleng@yahoo.com. You're welcome to email me with regards to anything that you want to speak about concerning LO. So it is Litika, my surname, that is my name, @yahoo.com. So you're welcome to email. Now today's lesson is it is chapter 9, unit 2. So chapter 9, unit 2, we're still dealing with environmental issues. So environmental issues that cause ill health is the first slide. Environmental issues affect health and are the cause of millions of deaths every year. Overpopulation, pollution, and mismanagement of natural resources are a threat to human existence. So overpopulation is when there are too many people on earth, meaning too many children are being had. So there are lots of people and usually in a small area. So pollution is obviously caused by multinational corporations, businesses that are dealing with mining and the making of oil and minerals. Those companies give off chemicals, and those chemicals are sometimes dumped into rivers and in the sea, and that is the kind of pollution that we have. We also have emissions from cars, so those are the environmental issues that can cause ill health. And then once you are overpopulated, we are going to fight for scarce resources. So if there's mismanagement of natural resources, it means that people who are responsible for managing the resources, usually governments, institutions, and authorities, they are the ones who are responsible for making sure that everybody is well taken care of with regards to resources. That is things like water and food and shelter. When they don't manage these things well, then that means that not everyone gets enough. Some people will be endangered because they will not have food and they will starve. Some people won't have water, they'll dehydrate. And some people just won't have enough living space, which will cause like human rights conditions and illnesses, like too many people squatting in one place, like squatter camps, like we have in the country. And then issues that cause environmental health, it is important for humans to educate themselves about the various related issues about the environment and commit themselves to working together to address these issues. So for an example, when scientists first discovered the greenhouse effect, which is global warming, they called on governments to come together and different unions and different authorities, organizations to come together to discuss global warming so that we can participate in making our world safer, that the climate doesn't change, which will affect us and animals and which will lead to human and animal extinction. So basically, when we educate ourselves, we are able to teach each other the things that we should prevent to do in order to stop climate change and the things that we need to pass on to the next generation about taking care of themselves. So again, it is important for us to commit to these issues. For instance, countries were forced to know how much emissions they're giving and how much pollution they're contributing, and then each country must make a commitment to lowering their emissions. So when we come together, we discuss and we commit ourselves, then we will improve the lives of people, and we will save ourselves from extinction, and we will be able to preserve our environment. The use of harmful substances in food production. So chemicals that are used to improve food production, which are insecticides, fertilizers, and hormones, have exposed humans to dangerous chemicals. So basically, the things that we eat most of the time that come from farms, those farms that the food comes from, the farmers have used insecticides, fertilizers, and some have been homogenized. These things the farmers do so that they can operate with mass production, meaning they want to increase the number of products that they produce so that they can make more money. You know, the more you produce, the more you can sell at a cheaper rate and at a more expensive rate. Well, the people are buying for more expensive, but you are making more money because you're producing for cheaper. So it is these very insecticides that also cause health issues for bodies because they are like poison to the human body. So that's why it is very commendable or very advisable that we should be able to eat organic food that doesn't have insecticides or that hasn't been sprayed with chemicals whilst in the farming process so that we can become healthier. There are more than 3,000 different food uh, chemicals that are used basically to enhance food, and they are purposefully added to our food supply. And some of these are bad for us. Like I said, it is bad for our health that these chemicals are added and these things that make products some of them make them more appealing to the eye, for instance colorants and whatever. Those things make the products look good, but at the end of the day they are very unhealthy. So in human farming methods, often farmers in mass production, they produce in masses so that they can make more money. So yes, I have gone through that, explaining why farmers engage in mass production. So the impact of degradation on society and the environment. So environmental hazard number one will be soil erosion. And soil erosion is when wind and water are the main causes of it. Basically, soil erosion is when soil moves from its original position, and you find that where there was lots of healthy soil, you find that the healthy soil has been swept away by water or by wind, and then you find soil that you can't really plant anything on. So what causes soil erosion? Soil erosion is caused by bad farming practices, and bad farming practices, for example, are overstocking and overgrazing. So when you overgraze, it means that you're not controlling the way your cattle or your livestock feed. So you are allowing them to eat more when you aren't planting more, or allowing the grass. For instance, if a cow eats grass on your farm, then you're not allowing the grass to grow, and you're not allowing the grass to be able to replace, but you're allowing your cow to eat to the point where there is nothing else and the soil is not able to produce any grass. And then inappropriate farming techniques is when you use chemicals and you use manure that is made out of dangerous chemicals. So you always use manure that is not harmful to the environment, that is made out of maybe fruits and vegetables and degradable things. So again, lack of crop rotation. Crop rotation, for instance, is when you For example, you planting millies or corn. So millies of corn will grow in certain areas and will grow in a certain way. So instead of growing millies and corn only, which take a certain kind of um, nutrients from the ground, what you do is you diversify your crops. So you grow million corn and then you also grow maybe sage, then you grow tomatoes. So you rotate your crops. If in this season you planted millies in a certain section of your farm, so let's say your farm is 4 hectares, each hectare will have its own crop. So uh, hectare 1 will have millies, hectare 2 will have sage, hectare 3 will have tomatoes, and hectare 4 will have sugarcane. So when you crop rotate, it means you're going to rotate the crop where you once planted millies in the first season, the next season you'll plant tomatoes, and then you'll rotate them like that so that each season you're growing a different um, plant in that area. That helps to keep the soil healthy. You give the soil enough time to come back whilst you're busy helping it with manure and helping it to come back then to its nutritious um, condition. Basically, when you crop rotate, you're doing just that. You're allowing the soil to grow. And then how you plant the crops too. So whether you are planting it horizontally or vertically, basically you don't want to plant it in a way, you don't want to plant your crops in a way where it won't be able to retain water. So if you plant your crops downhill, then water is going to run through and it's going to erode the soil. The water will run through and will go down with the soil. So if you plant your crops across, then when the water comes down, the soil and the plants will be able to anchor. The plants will be able to anchor the soil, and then the soil won't erode. And then pollution occurs when any form of impurity, like chemical substances, are released into a clean natural environment, causing instability or harm to it. So a lot of us live in the CBD. Some of us live in industrial areas. For instance, I live in the Vaal, and there are lots of firms in the Vaal, and we also live next to Sasolburg. So lots of companies in Sasolburg that release a lot of chemicals. So the chemicals that are released by the companies are very, very harmful to us. Most of the people that live in the Vaal and in Sasolburg have asthma, and the children that grow there were born with asthma. So it is harmful to us. You grow up with lots of complications and lots of allergies too. So when you are in an unclean environment, mainly because of pollution, you just don't have the chances of you being healthy unless someone who lives in a place where there's fresh air, where there are less companies giving off strong chemical emissions. And the most common forms of pollution are air pollution, like I just said, those firms will give off emissions, and then water pollution. Water pollution is also when the multinational corporations or the big firms that deal with chemicals throw their waste products into water. Maybe they might dump their waste products into rivers. They might dump them into dams and some into the ocean. So that pollutes the water, and obviously when you pollute the water, there are animals living in the water, fishes and different kinds of fauna. So basically what will happen is that the animals and the fishes, the plant life and the sea life will die out because you are polluting the water and they need clean water to survive in. Another point with regards to water pollution is even human beings throwing litter into the water, for instance, to the beach, and you don't pick up after yourself. So let's say you are having a beach picnic and then you drink from cans and you eat from papers, and then you basically don't gather all the things that those things cause harm to also fishes and they cause our water to be dirty. So as you know that some packaging for our food doesn't dissolve uh, for long periods of time, and some of them have chemicals. So when you put them in, so it is important for us to pick up after ourselves and to don't litter. Land pollution is also when we litter as people, and basically when firms go dump, even the dump sites that we have, if you live in the township or informal settlements, sometimes when the municipality does not to collect our waste products, we'll just take a wheelbarrow and we go dump in a corner or in front of someone's house. That's land pollution, and it is not healthy to do so. Land pollution also causes diseases, and that is because children will go and play there and they will no one comes to remove it for lengthy. People live closer to the dumps and it is not good for them to breathe that air. Also, you find that rodents and lots of pests will live there too, so you'll have mice going there, and then you don't want the mice to then come into the community because they'll also bring diseases. And then noise pollution. Noise pollution is also caused by firms and big companies. So when you live around big firms and big companies, you can also, it can affect your hearing. So it is also a type of pollution. And then there is light pollution. And then impact on society and the environment. So the impact of pollution on society and the pollution can be very fatal to humans. Basically, it can affect your respiratory, your cardiovascular. It can give you cardiovascular diseases. So chest pains, congestions, like I did mention, asthma, and lots of complications with breathing and some allergies that can come up from not breathing the correct air. And then radiation. The description of radiation and its causes. Radiation may be able to penetrate various materials like X-ray, radar, and microwaves are types of radiation. Also the most familiar forms of radiation. It delivers light and then the impact on society environment. Radiation particles can easily penetrate deep inside the damaging some cells. Radiation can cause cancer. Radiation can cause changes in the DNA, and in extreme hair loss and nausea. So there's been a debate lately of 5G and 4G. That is with regards to Wi-Fi and connection and we do know that Wi-Fi and 4Gs and RGs are about radiation too. And there's been a debate about the installation or the starting of 5G, and there are arguments that it is harmful to us and it can cause cancer, and in places where that there are animals dying there and birds dying. So it is a whole debate of the radiation that comes from these. So it is something that each government will have to look at and use its doctors and whoever that it needs to use in order to see whether it would be healthy to set up 5G maybe in our country and in different countries. So 4G was also said to be bad in the beginning, and it can. Some people do say it causes cancer, but maybe the amount of radiation we get from our phones is very little. So, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Just check your sound for me, please.
My sound.
You keep breaking up.
Okay. Maybe it's the next network. Can you hear me clearly now?
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Sorry for the sound. I'm going to continue. Occur when large amounts of water that covers an area. Basically, a flood is when a river overflows or dams overflow. Basically, this is caused by a lot of times right now. Finding that there's more rainfall, there are more floods, therefore sweeping through areas, and that some areas are low-lying areas, some are high-lying areas, and people have built where the water can easily come into the houses, which we can't blame them because before climate change, people were able to live in lots of areas and there wasn't a problem when it comes to flooding. So floods are also as a result of environmental changes, and as a result, they are a hazard basically. So an impact cause impacts. They can cause damage to properties and livestock, and then flooding can cause outbreaks of disease owing to sewage disposal. So if maybe like a country doesn't have proper if water tunnels have not been maintained, or maybe the word that I'm looking for is water drainage systems. So if the water drainage system is what we're seeing now, maybe they haven't been maintained, so they're long overdue for maintenance. That's when our water during rainfall and high rainfall seasons, our tunnels cannot contain the water. Some of them are clogged. So the climate change, though it's bringing lots of rainfall, it finds that we don't have proper drainage systems, so areas become flat, and then our properties get damaged and it kills our livestock. So when some of these pipes they break because they haven't been maintained, and then you find that the sewage spills into maybe clean water, or the sewage just spills onto the land, which also causes by natural agents like lighting or careless human activity like leaving an open fire unattended. So the fires in Australia, and those fires are obviously have said to be because of climate change. So we've seen lots of forests burn, and obviously we've seen a lot of protests of people protesting and saying that our governments must do much better with regards to the climate and carrying out their commitments with regards to taking care of our environment, just to see fires are caused by human agents, like someone setting a firelight, maybe by throwing a cigarette away or by purposefully lighting a matchstick. Or also there can be an accident. For instance, maybe you're having a braai out in the field, or you are when you leave, you just throw the coal on the ground in an open field, and that's where basically you can cause a fire. For lots of plants, and will obviously destroy homes for animals that live in that habitat. So wildfires destroy wild habitat for animals and kill many animals that cannot escape. Fires also strip vegetation from land and expose it to rapid erosion. Fires can also destroy houses and other buildings. The smoke from fires can be dangerous to animals and humans. The people can be killed by fires. So fires also make pollution because of the smoke, and then people. So the wind, damage caused by wind. Description and cause. Wind is moving air and can be very powerful and destructive when moving at high speed. So wind can also cause damage to our properties, and basically we also need to be careful because climate change does change the weather. So we will get seasons that are more windier. So if a season like August, which is autumn, is windy, then it becomes even worse under climate change. So the impact on society and the environment cause can uproot trees and power outages owing to tree branches, baby. That is what winds do. Lots of open space. So lots of open space is due to overpopulation too, where you find that people are now, because there are lots of people there before, they taking the place, the open spaces that were once for vegetation and animals, they're taking it up for residential spaces. So owing to increasing population, more land is being used to house people and cities, and these are growing, taking away land that was previously occupied by the natural environment. So as we grow in population, then the more we lose land for grazing, for animals to just live in their right environment and habitats, and we're also losing spaces for our natural, maybe indigenous plants to grow. So you find that they don't have space anymore. And then impact on society and the environment. Loss of open space leads to loss of indigenous flora and fauna, deterioration of microclimate, increased stormwater runoff, loss of air and water quality, and loss of habitat for wildlife. Those are things that we just mentioned. And then lack of infrastructure, and ever increasing population needs infrastructure and services to sustain it. A lack of infrastructure like housing, water, electricity, proper transport routes, and other services place tremendous strain on the environment. So, it is governments most of the time that supposed to provide and make sure they manage country resources properly, and that is by way of providing infrastructure for people. If there's no infrastructure, for instance, no sanitation and no proper housing, then people go set up structures in areas where animals have their habitats there, and then they start using maybe the open spouts for toilets and for dumping water that has been polluted. So if the government does not provide toilets and sanitation, clean water, then we cannot control what humans do. They will go out and basically do things that are harmful to the environment. And then the impact on society and environment. Depleting natural resources to compensate for lack of infrastructure. Using natural resources, for example, cutting down trees to make fire, polluting the environment owing to a lack of services, for example, human waste running into rivers owing to lack of sewage systems, littering owing to a lack of rubbish removal, increase in disease owing to lack of sanitation. So basically, if there's no infrastructure, then people will turn to the natural environment. They'll help themselves there. They'll wash their laundry into the streams. Some of them will throw their waste into the streams. Some of them will then come back and drink from contaminated rivers. So basically, we do need infrastructure to help. So it is your turn now. The activity that you do, just to make sure that you know what the different types of hazards and the description, what causes them. You can just do this activity, list the 5 types of hazards and then describe them and explain what causes them. So explain the impact it has on society. So you're going to list 5 types of hazards, you're going to describe them and explain what causes them, and then you explain the impact it has on society. So this is the summary, and the summary is obviously what we've gathered from all the slides. Environmental issues affect the health and are the cause of millions of details every year. Some of these deaths are due to natural disasters, but sadly, most of them are to human behavior. Much of our food has been exposed to dangerous chemicals. Farmers often make use of chemicals to improve production. These include spraying plants with insecticides, adding chemical fertilizers, and feeding animal products with hormones and other chemicals to keep them healthy and to make them grow faster. There are many environmental hazards that cause degradation and have a major impact on society and the environment. Environmental hazards are conditions or events which present a threat to the natural environment and affect people's health. So basically, this is a summary and this gathers everything that you need to know. I've also set up a link here for you guys, and it's all about conserving energy and how to take care of the environment. It will tell you the things that are harmful to the environment and how to conserve them, how to conserve the environment. So that is it for today's lesson. So thank you for being with me today. Sorry for the bad sound. And then please join me for the next lesson tomorrow at 3 o'clock, where we will be continuing with the chapter. And then, yes, for more information, please contact Africa Teen Gigs and follow them on social media. On you can use the @Africa Teen Gigs on on all social media platforms. Also, remember that you can email me at the following email, litikapuleng@yahoo.com, and that is where you can get me. So thank you very much for joining me for the lesson, and hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you.